welcome to Directly to You. This is a Fanatics 4 podcast. This is episode number 67. That's the number after 66. And this is Parker. Normally AJ does this little intro thing because AJ is not here. He is at TooManyGames, which is a game conference thing that does things and stuff. And I'm joined by my friend Mitch.
Hey everybody, this is Mitch. I'm happy to be here.
He's lying. He's not lying.
Someone help me.
So before we get into all the stuff, the housekeeping and whatnot, long story short, subscribe, all that stuff. If you haven't been to our regular channel, but for some reason you're on this podcast, go to the podcast channel. Nope, go to the regular channel and then, subscribe there and all that stuff. And also you can join and be a community member for $5 a month. And with that, you get emotes, loyalty badges. AJ does this stuff. I don't remember all of it. And sometimes free Switch keys from time to time. Just ask Grimhane about that. He'll tell you some stuff. There's probably other things I'm supposed to say. I don't know them. I just let AJ do the things and then I follow along suit. And then I hop in at this point. I'm joined by Mitch. Hello again, Mitch.
Hello again, Parker.
There you go. Okay, whatever. That's it for the housekeeping stuff. Blah, 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 blah. We'll move into the next part. What are we playing this week? Mitch, what are you playing recently?
So I just downloaded Slay the Spire, and that has been great. It's like a roguelite deck building game. And I'm trying not to play it too much because I have a trip coming up that I'm going to be playing it a lot on. So don't want to get burned out, but it's great. It's been a lot of fun. You and I played that last week at some point. Sorry.
Okay, so I know I'm going to turn off, done with like podcasty intro voice or whatever. This is just radio talking now. So we played it. We got a little bit of the way through and had like a little bit OP of a, a setup or whatever.
First time I actually won a run was on that one.
So that's the question that I have is like, when you win a run, I know you played Wizard of Legend and like when you beat that, you get, I guess, new things to bring into the next game or whatever. Is it a similar kind of situation? Like, how does that?
Yeah, so it's class-based, and you unlock the classes pretty quickly. There's 3 of them, and each one has their own set of cards that they use, so they feel very different, and they have levels. So as you beat enemies, you level up, and that unlocks more cards and relics for you to use on future runs. And it looks like it wouldn't take too long to unlock everything. So if you like games mostly for the thrill of unlocking things, then just keep that in mind. But it has a really satisfying gameplay loop that I would play, I think, long after unlocking everything.
I mean, I guess because, at least when we were doing it, it's a lot of like picking what kinds of cards go into your deck. And then as soon as you sort of get a niche going or something like that, you kind of lean into that. So I could see how that would, depending on a couple card combinations, you could lean most of the deck into those ones or whatever.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah. So each run kind of feels different, even if you pick the same class. So it's got a lot of variety there. Yeah,
I mean, we were doing stuff, again, I only played it one time, so I don't really know, akin to like when you use a defend card, or when you add like defense to yourself or something like that, it does damage to the opponent that way too. So like we were just defending a lot, and then that would obviously help defend, but then also do damage to them and stuff like that. I don't know, what are the other kinds of, again, just asking out of my own curiosity, other kinds of strategies that would play into it at that front?
Yeah, so we were playing the warrior class. I don't remember what it's actually called, but that's pretty much it. And so you described that build really well. We built up a lot of block, and we had one key card in our build where every time we gained block, we dealt a significant amount of damage to the enemy. So we were able to tailor our build to make ourselves very defensive and protect ourselves while also dishing out damage. So that was great. The next class you unlock is kind of a roguelike class. So they have a lot of very cheap cards that feel like you're,
cheap, like not money wise, like, but like cheap as in like cheesing it and stuff, that kind of cheap.
Well, you have resources that you spend in order to cast your cards in your hand. So they will cast many more cards a turn than the other classes will.
Oh, so literally cheap, like doesn't cost a lot of resources.
Right, cheap. Sometimes 0.
Gotcha.
Nice. Yeah, and they have a lot of ways to gain more resources and stuff. So they kind of feel like they're rushing about, like a ninja dodging and stabbing when they can and
that's
stuff
fun.
Like that. Yeah, very cool.
Having that kind of like immersion or whatever.
I've always been a big fan of how games take their systems and their mechanics and like evoke a certain feeling. Like you feel like you're a warrior or a rogue, or you know, you really feel like Spider-Man.
I do feel like Spider-Man. I mean, I've got half of it down. So, for whatever that's worth, I'll let you guys figure that out yourselves. Nice. Okay, cool. So, and you have a trip coming up. When is that, by the way?
The end of next month. One of my friends is getting married up in Oregon. Hi, Jacob Gordon. I'm very excited to come.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, so we'll be flying. I'll be in the air for 6 to 8 hours, maybe. So I've already got an extended battery for my Switch.
Nice.
So I am set.
Did you just get that, or have you had it for a while?
I've had it for a while, but have had no need to use it yet. But this is it.
I don't even remember that you had it. So,
yeah.
Lo and behold, way to tell me things.
Could have used that when we were staked out in front of Schlotzsky's at 4 o'clock in the morning with our 9 parchments all bundled in blankets.
So, yeah, honestly, I thought about bringing this story up because I feel like this is like the epitome of, I felt like we should have been in a Switch commercial.
Yeah.
The long story medium was that our coworker / boss Nate was like, "Hey, you guys want to get free sandwiches for a year?" And we're like, "Yeah, of course we want free sandwiches for a year." In the end, we didn't actually end up eating free sandwiches for a year, but that's the story for the end of the story. And so we were like, we'll stay out there all night. The first 100 people this one day will get free sandwiches for a year, blah, blah, blah. And we found out it was going to be 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which if that's Celsius, that's like -5 or something like that, or -6. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. No. It's cold. Whatever it is.
It's cold.
It was, so we were like, we will go at 4 a.m. instead. And we got there at 4 a.m. And how long, like, when was it that the next people showed up?
I think there were some other very dedicated people that showed up around 6:30 maybe. And then, you know, the next 85 people of the first 100 to receive this card showed up probably at like 8:30.
Yeah, like 30 minutes before the thing started. So we were sitting there in lawn chairs with like sleeping bags and lots of hand warmers everywhere with our Switches in our laps. And then I think you realized like, oh, we can just take the Joy-Cons off and put them in our pockets.
It was great.
Because it's smart. Yeah. And it has the local wireless stuff where you don't need internet. And so we just played 9 parchments all together because that was the only multiplayer game pretty much we had.
Which was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Nate killed it. Killed all of us. There's they're friendly fires on that game, and he killed us a lot.
Not very friendly.
No. So yeah, that was a Switch moment if ever I've seen one. But so that's fun. I've been playing. I just started playing Okami, which I started briefly telling you about earlier today. But then I was like, we're gonna be talking about it on the podcast. I'm not gonna tell you about this stuff now. I also finished Cadence of Hyrule. That was a lot of fun. I'll play it again at some point, but I'm trying to get stuff knocked out before Mario Maker happens very soon. So, but Okami HD is, as people have said, it's like straight up Twilight Princess. It's pretty much Twilight Princess. They were developed at the same time, and I don't know how, but they just made the same 2 games in so many words. So you are it's like a Japanese painted kind of style. Looks very pretty. Lots of cutscenes at the beginning, I'm finding out. I think I'm still probably in the tutorial section. I'm probably like 2 hours in or so, and it feels fairly tutorial-y still. Less so now, but you know, I just finished my first sort of dungeon-ish. But you are like a wolf god kind of thing. You've been asleep for 100 years. There was a demon or like a 8-headed dragon demon thingy that you defeated 100 years ago, and then they put up a shrine to you, and then somebody unleashed it back out, and then the world's all messed up again. It's like, come on, bro. Like, really? You could have just not. So that's what I have to say. But yeah, all things considered, it's really fun. The gameplay does feel like the combat is a lot like the wolf part of Twilight Princess as well. I really liked Twilight Princess. I know a lot of people were kind of down on it for one reason or another, but
I gotcha. I actually missed that one. I was a big fan of all the other Zelda games.
Horrible human you are.
I don't want to get a tangent into all that, though. Missing the Zelda game or being a horrible human. Does Okami utilize any of the motion controls on the Switch? Because I understand that when you paint, you kind of are moving the brush.
Yep, it surely does.
That's cool.
Yeah, so pretty much you can use There's 3 different ways you can do it. My voice just cracked a little bit. That's real fun. You can... So at some point you like stop the game for a second, and which I was kind of worried that it would feel like rushed or whatever, where it's like, oh, I gotta like swipe and do these things, you know, as a quick combo sort of deal. Especially because it's a Hideki Kamiya game who did like Bayonetta and The Wonderful 101.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that Astral Chain also? Do they do?
That is Platinum Games, but I don't think Hideki Kamiya is on that. I could be wrong. Gotcha. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Good job. You did it. But it is Hideki Kamiya, and it's definitely got some of that, like, it's pretty silly a lot of the time. You've got a little, like, Midna or, like, Navi kind of a character that's around with you the whole time. That's a little, like, bug-looking thing that's always being silly. What was your... Oh, yeah, the paintbrush thing.
Yeah.
So you can either do it with... So it kind of, like, pauses the game, turns it into, like, a paint... the canvas.
Okay, Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I
mean, come on. What else you got? Mario Paint, actually. Close enough. Good try.
Yeah.
So then you can either use the joystick to draw it, or you can use gyro stuff, motion controls to draw it, or you can use the touchscreen if you're in handheld mode.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's neat. The gyro stuff, I don't feel like I do it very well with the gyro. I think because I turned it on like very sensitive, so I'm trying to do like kind of very precise things within a small space instead of turning it on less sensitive and doing like bigger motions and it working out. So I'll switch that up and I'm sure it'll work fine. But
gotcha.
The other options work pretty well as well.
Do you wear an afro and don a buttoned up shirt like Bob Ross when you... Is it
every time? Yeah, good. I just pause the game. Go get the afro and the button.
It's important.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's as long as it's happy little paintbrush things, then that's really what counts.
Happy mistakes.
So, yeah, there's happy evil demon dragons.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
I mean, now they are. We gave them trees, so
I need that positivity with other games like Sekiro or Dark Souls.
Yeah,
sorry, that's out of Nintendo right now.
Are you still playing through Sekiro?
I have pretty much platinumed that at this time.
Nice.
I'm waiting for the DLC at this time, I think. But with FromSoft working on that Elden Ring game, we might not get it. But I'm happy that they're working on anything.
Oh, okay. You don't think we'll get the DLC at all?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I think sometimes some teams will like hand off DLC to other teams, like if they're main team. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Because, I don't follow Sekiro stuff very much at all. That wasn't even the one that I meant to ask, because you're also playing through The Witcher right now, right? Have you gotten to play that much recently?
I feel like I've been playing, air quotes, through The Witcher for like a year now, I think. I'm super excited for it to come to Switch.
Are you going to buy it again on Switch, or are you just excited for other people?
Who knows? I'm excited for other people. For that game to be more accessible is great, because I really think it's a wonderful game. At this time, it feels kind of daunting to get back into. I've just had so many things that have sidetracked me from The Witcher. And it's kind of like you jump in and there's not really, I guess there is kind of a journal, but it's like when you got back into Golf Story. It'd been so long since you had stopped playing it. So you're like, what? Might as well start over. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in this cave. Who are you? What am I doing? Yeah,
it doesn't seem like necessarily the kind of, like, because I think it's a similar game in some ways, it seems like, to Breath of the Wild, but I feel like in that maybe because they knew it was going to be on the Switch, well, I don't know if that impacted it, but it seems like there's like lots of little things that you could do where it's like, I've just got 10 minutes, I'm just going to pick up some things. You could probably do that fairly easily there, whereas I don't know if that would be the same case with The Witcher. Like, do you feel like, unless you have, because that's how I feel with Dark Souls, if I don't have an hour or two to put into it, it's really not worth playing much, because I'm just going to kill a couple guys and that's it, and then I'm gonna die. Like, it's more or less how it goes.
I think probably at least like a 30-minute chunk would be good for The Witcher, unless you're playing some Gwent. That's the end game card game. There's a game in a game.
Ooh, is that kind of like Triple Triad?
Yeah. Man.
Yep. Justin, probably you're happy right now. Justin is one of the Fanatics 4 guys, and he loves Final Fantasy and JRPGs and that kind of stuff. Although I don't know if you like 8, Justin.
You say that with such disdain. 8 is my favorite.
That's my
very first experience with any JRPG. So it has a soft
spark. With any JRPG?
I think so. Yeah, because up until then,
Had you played, I mean, not that obviously, it's not a JRPG in a lot of ways, but in some ways, it's, but like Pokemon is a turn-based RPG, so that's got like, It's like an JRPG, very light.
Okay. Well, I think I probably had played Pokemon by that point then. So but I take that back.
I mean, no, you're probably still right, though. It's not. I don't think anybody would specifically consider it a JRPG, other than the fact that it's an RPG that's also Japanese. But yeah,
you're technically right.
I'm so smart. You don't even know. See, AJ, I saved some of my smarts for this. AJ, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything else you've been playing recently?
Well,
that's about it for me.
Okay.
So if you don't have anything else, you don't have to like rack your brain. But if you don't say something else, you're fired from something.
Man. Does the Commander format of Magic the Gathering count? Because I've been playing that.
I was telling Kenny, our friend Kenny, I was telling him about that recently, that you were playing that because he was really into Magic.
Oh, cool.
And he was like, yeah, I tried to play Commander once, but something. I didn't understand because I don't know anything.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds right.
We love a good something. Well, good stuff. That's what we've been playing. And now, you know what we also have been playing, not super recently, but Breath of the Wild. That was the best segue you've ever even known. So here's hopping into the news part of this, y'all. Also, thanks everybody for listening and enjoying, hopefully, the fact that I'm talking and probably missing AJ, but, you know, he'll be back. Yep, that's the end of that sentence. So Breath of the Wild. There was a piece of news this week. Mitch, I'll fill you in on it. Breath of the Wild 2. So it was, I think, Jason Schreier from Kotaku, which is a gaming news outlet, did an interview with Eiji Aonuma during E3 at some point and found out some little bits of information. One of them was like kind of stuff about Link's Awakening and some background for how they decided to do that. And it was pretty much that like... Aonuma was saying like, yeah, well, it's just kind of hard to access Link's Awakening now. Nobody really can play it unless you get a Game Boy and blah, blah, and that's kind of, you know, a bit daunting. So we figured it was time to make a remake for it. So that was fun. And then Grezzo is the studio that's doing that, which they're the ones that did, like, you know, how Majora's Mask and not Link's Awakening, and Ocarina of Time are on 3DS. They did remakes for that. So Grezzo was the studio that ported those over there. So
nice. They
got some background in any case. But the other piece that he said, so this is a quote from him, and then we can chat about this. So this was talking about the Breath of the Wild sequel. He said, when we released the DLC for Breath of the Wild, we realized that this is a great way to add more elements to the same world. But when it comes down to technical things, DLC is pretty much data. You're adding data to a pre-existing title. And so when we wanted to add bigger changes, DLC is not enough. And that's why we thought maybe a sequel would be a good fit. Initially, we were thinking of just DLC ideas, but when we had a lot of ideas and we said, this is too many ideas, let's just make one new game and start from scratch. So that was the piece of news. But especially that last bit was interesting, where it sounds like they enjoyed doing the DLC for Breath of the Wild, but then at some point they were like, we want to do more DLC that's, I guess, story stuff. You know, some of what we're getting in Breath of the Wild sequel would have maybe been DLC, and then they decided to scratch it and do a new game instead. So I don't know, any just launch impressions on that?
I am very excited to see anything with Breath of the Wild. I devoured that content other than the Korok seeds.
Yes.
I'm not that dedicated. Rumor has it there's one Korok seed that no player has found yet, and if you find it, then you get a tour of the Willy Wonka chocolate factory.
Yeah, I found that. I got it.
I'm sure you'll get your invitation.
I've got my lifetime supply of Willy Wonka chocolate.
Is it like Korok seeds and it's really not chocolate? It's a gold crusted turd.
Don't tell anyone. That's what I have to say.
This is what a Korok seed is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
We're pretty sure. Which is just so...
What are the lore implications of that? Where's that in the timeline?
Especially with like Wind Waker and stuff, but you know, like how come we didn't find, because there are Koroks in Wind Waker, how come we didn't find a bunch of turds all around in that game? You know? Just saying.
Yep.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny how people were like so mad that the end goal for, or the, you know, prize or whatever for getting all 900 Korok seeds was the giant Korok seed turd or whatever. But the thing is, honestly, like, that's one of those things that, you know, if they had made an actual prize for it, more people would have tried to do that. And that's not really what the Korok seeds are about. Like, it was more of an afterthought, sort of like in Mario Odyssey, you know, that one spot that's in the Sand Kingdom where like you can get up on top of this, you know, big roof thing, but it's really, really hard to get up there. And if you get up there, there's a ton of coins.
Yep.
But I think some
I've
people
definitely been up there. Oh, I got it.
Did
for
you?
Sure. No.
Have you, I think I might have showed you that at some point though, right? Or maybe you showed me the video
Oh, no,
and then I went up there.
I watched you
gotcha.
show me a video or something. I know it involves some wall jumping and hat leaps and things like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But so, like that spot, for example, I feel like if you make that kind of thing, if you put a moon there, it makes it feel mandatory, and then it's less of a like, good job, you're one of the few people that did it kind of a thing, and more of like a, no, we expected you to do this type of a situation. So I feel like with the Korok seeds, it's a similar kind of thing where like the bigger the prize, the more, I don't know, the expectation or something. It's a hard balance, because same goes for like in Pokemon when you get just like a document at the end of Gen 1 that was like, you got all of the Pokemon, and that was all you got for completing the dex. Like, that's pretty lame.
Yeah, because that was kind of the point of the game. You got to catch them all.
Right.
Right.
So, like, but at the same time, like, yeah, what can you reward them with? Like, or in Mario Odyssey, again, if you get all 999 moons, what can you reward them with to be like, you got 999 moons beside, you know, because like
a
that
moon.
Yeah, exactly. But like maybe that would have felt better. I don't know. Like,
it's a great question.
Yeah.
I also just love this like line of thinking. This subject is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Aesthetic rewards, I think, encourage me to go above and beyond what the game has set as like your main objectives.
Yep.
And then maybe something that is, I mean, maybe they can give you an overpowered item, but by the time you get it, you don't really need it kind of thing. So it's just like, go have fun in this open world with this overpowered thing.
That's a good point. I don't remember. Okay, I think my friend Wyatt was telling me about some racing game or something like that like when you beat it, you get this like super overpowered car that's like way faster. It wasn't like a standard like sim racing type game, but it was something more, you know, like Burnout or something along those lines. But you get some car that's like just way maxed out, and it's like a demon car or something like that, and it just like, you know, busts everything else down. And I think that is fun to just have something where you're just like, all right, like wrecking havoc, just showing everybody who's boss. Or, you know, like at the end of Mario 64, where you get to hang out with Yoshi.
I forgot how Nintendo is experienced in this end-game trolling. Man, I didn't even think about that. It's the same people.
It's the same people. Yeah. Betrayed.
Never again.
Man. But yeah, with the DLC thing, going back to the thing, I think it's interesting because I saw... our friend Max on Twitter wrote something to the effect of like, okay, well, if these were their ideas for DLC, why was the DLC that we got, or if they had so many ideas for DLC, why was the DLC that we got so crap? It was like, okay, interesting. I enjoyed the DLC. It wasn't as like grandiose and wonderful as I might have hoped, but at the same time, like I thought it was good and fun. And yeah, I don't know. I just enjoyed. Did you play any of the DLC? I don't remember.
Played a little bit of the DLC. I said I devoured the game. I guess I have some leftovers, but
I'm furious.
Yeah, I'm about ready for another playthrough, I think, because it's been a year or so since I've touched it. So ready for it. But no, I can see where he's coming from on that.
It definitely felt like it was more gameplay DLC than like story type stuff. So it must be that at some point they decided the story stuff will just have to save, because if we do a little bit of that now, that might kind of eat into it. And I'd understand how, like, Nintendo especially, because it's funny comparing this with The Witcher, which apparently got like 16 DLC packs or something like that, like some expansions and all sorts of stuff. But then with this, they did the 2 DLC packs and then just kind of called it a day. But I guess with The Witcher 2, do you think, like, not with The Witcher 2, but The Witcher as well, do you think The Witcher 3 like ends the whole story? Like that's the end of some saga, or like will there be a Witcher 4? I don't know enough about it at all.
It's a great question. I have not seen any spoilers for The Witcher 3, and I'd like to keep it that way. But I've never heard anyone talk about a Witcher 4. Okay. So I'm guessing they wrap it up pretty nicely. Also, if you didn't know, it's based off some novels. They're working with some source material
that's
there.
A thing, right?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to get into that tangent right now, but there's a thing around that.
Man, long story short, the guy who wrote it was like, sure, yeah, make a video game, whatever, pay me just like, what, $10,000 or like $100,000 or something?
He got paid up front because he did not believe that the games would do well.
Yep.
And the games did well.
You don't say.
I say.
Yeah.
And so now he's suing the creators of The Witcher 3. I think it's Project Red. Right?
Yep. CD Projekt Red,
for additional monies, which we don't have to get into it, but that's what's happening.
Yep. He kind of dug his own grave, if I'm being honest. Like,
yeah.
That's my humble opinion, and probably everybody else's, to be honest, besides his. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff with Breath of the Wild 2 and the DLC. So, I mean, like, I'm generally just curious what that implies for the world, where, like, it's going to be apparently, to some degree, in the same Hyrule, but, like, expanded upon.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be in, like, just the exact same Hyrule, obviously. Because if it were DLC, that would be fine for it to be like, it's in the same world, but here's some new additions to the world. But, like, I don't want to just explore the same exact Hyrule again as it is. So, curious how they'll do that.
And more than that, I mean, will they still introduce the Sheikah Slate? Is that going to be a returning feature?
Yeah. Do you just get that right at the beginning? Like, I don't know how progression works with this kind of... Because, like, in Majora's Mask, it made sense to have the progression that we did because, you know, you just are a kid again at the end of the story, and then you fall into Termina, and you're a Deku scrub, and so you just have to, like, you know, work your way up that way. So, like, yeah, that makes sense. You probably should have some more hearts than that, but whatever. But for this, I don't know.
They'll probably have an intro to this game where Link breaks all of his weapons and all of his shields.
Yep.
Maybe he tries to cook them. I don't know. Maybe he and Zelda have been shield surfing down all the mountains.
Always. Yeah. That's all they really do when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm curious how that goes. But we're also curious about Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
And apparently why we didn't find out about it anymore at this E3 is because of Luigi's Mansion, which seems that seems kind of weird. So, but here's the quote on the topic. This is coming from Nintendo Everything. They said, Nintendo's Kensuke Tanabe is working on Luigi's Mansion 3, but that's not the only important project he's involved with. Tanabe is also one of the key staffers helping to make Metroid Prime 4. At E3 last week, Eurogamer decided to ask if Tanabe had any sort of update on Metroid Prime 4. He gave a bit of an interesting answer, noting that he wants people to pay attention to Luigi's Mansion 3 for now. He said, I shouldn't say. It's a little tricky. To be completely honest, at this E3, I just want people to pay attention to Luigi. If I mention something about Metroid Prime 4, people will focus on that. But when the time comes, I am so ready to talk about it. Any initial thoughts on that? If that's like, oh, well, of course, or a little bit weird.
Well, at this point, since Metroid 4 has gotten pushed back, I am not surprised that they're not going to talk about it. I'm just like a child before Christmas. I'm just trying not to think about it, because if I think about it, it's going to make that waiting so much longer.
That's true.
Luigi's Mansion looks cool, and my girlfriend Catherine thinks Luigi's Mansion looks cool.
Nice.
So
always fun to have a game that she's interested in.
Yeah, so after we're done with Mario, we might move on over to that. Probably sync up pretty well.
Yep.
But no, I thought Luigi's Mansion looked cool, and as far as not talking about Metroid, I get it. It's been hyped for so long.
Yeah.
You don't want it to overshadow a game that is like going to come out soon.
Yeah. Especially the thing that I was thinking about too is, like, I think to some degree I and a lot of other people were wondering if there was going to be like a bigger game this holiday that's like a more kind of grandiose thing where like, I don't know, Luigi's Mansion was a kind of smaller or like just compact game. Like, it was important and popular and stuff, but it was, you know, a little bit niche and a little bit compact as far as gameplay. And Dark Moon was a handheld game, so like not particularly like, you know, huge big. So I was just expecting Luigi's Mansion 3 to also be kind of like a September title or something that's like, here's this game that we made and it's great and wonderful, but not like a holiday blockbuster type game. Whereas the like just timing of things, we don't know when that game's coming out. We've got stuff all the way through. It probably, I mean, at this point it's coming out within kind of the holiday range of time, it seems like. So obviously they're like pushing it as a bigger holiday kind of game, which means in that case, like, okay, well, that makes sense that they wouldn't want to have it be compared to an even bigger, you know, like, because like they did show off Breath of the Wild, but that's something where we know that's far away no matter what, and it was new stuff, and so like I feel like that can be kept separate a little bit more easily than, I guess, Luigi's Mansion 3 and Metroid Prime 4. Like, they're not that similar, but you're probably right that it would have overshadowed it to some degree.
And maybe more than previous Luigi's Mansion titles, this one could be a good holiday thing, because if you're a parent buying a game for your kids, I think there's like multiplayer in this one, so it could be, you know, a good family thing for everybody involved. So
a good old family thing.
Yeah. Jimmy's Luigi and Sammy is dead Luigi.
I was watching some gameplay for it, and it's like, it's just cool. I'm getting more and more excited about it as it goes too, because I played Luigi's Mansion for the first time like 3 years ago or 2 years ago or something like that. So like pretty recently, and played it fairly quickly or whatever. So it's like not super nostalgic for me. But then watching more and more gameplay of Luigi's Mansion 3, I was like, no, like I'm ready for this. This will be really fun. And there's just some cool, fun things where like, as Luigi walks around, he's very like, Mario, and like, you know, freaked out and stuff. But then when Luigi pops out, he's like, doopa-doopa-doopa-doopa-doo, I'm Luigi, and like is completely confident and just real happy. And like when you look at the box art for the game that they just put out, I don't know, like yesterday or something like that, they Luigi's like on the front with a flashlight under his face, like all freaked out and stuff, and Luigi's like dripping from the top of the screen, and I think sort of to be reminiscent of like blood, you know, on a horror movie or something like that. But Luigi's face is also like, hey, just all like happy-go-lucky, like here we go, and that just made me so happy that like, I don't know, that stuff. And there's so many secrets in that game. I forgot about that too. Just just watching them playing through it and stuff. There's just all these areas that are secret that you have to get to.
That's cool. I'll enjoy that. I haven't seen any of that, and I haven't seen the box art, but that sounds really good.
Too bad. You're going to have to anyway.
Yeah.
And we are also going to have to play Mario Maker in touchscreen when we're holding it. All right, segues and whatnot. So, news bit. Here we go. Next one is Mario Maker's coming out next week, which is really soon. And I'm very excited about it. But just kind of a weird bit of things is that when you're playing it in handheld, apparently it doesn't support the button controls anymore. You can only use the touchscreen things, which, it makes sense that you can use the touchscreen things, but it's just a little bit odd and like not a huge deal, but kind of weird that you can't do both at the same time. In and of itself, not a huge story, but just like it seems kind of indicative of the things that Nintendo does a lot, where they're like, no, this is, you're gonna play like this. Like Let's Go, for example, only being able to play with the one Joy-Con when you're playing, like that kind of thing. That.
Yep.
It's just silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Specifically on only being able to use the touchscreen when you're building things?
Sure.
Yeah. Seems like a limitation to me, but maybe there's something good about it. Who knows?
Yeah. It's not one of the, like, I don't really care that much. It's just, it's more of an oddity than anything else. Like something that's barely noteworthy, but like, oh, interesting. And then we'll kind of move on from it. But like, I don't know. I just think it's funny that Nintendo seems to have like very specific, and not just, there's lots of other companies that do this kind of thing as well, but especially Nintendo, I feel like has very specific ways that they want you to play. Like Mario Party not having online with friends.
Yep. That
kind of a thing. Like, or not even online with friends, just not having Mario Party be online at all for like the regular part of it. Like, come on. It would just do it. Even if it's going to be weird for people, or people will cut out of the game, or it may be a bad experience, like we'll just find that out the hard way.
I wonder if they make their games with like one of those shriveled monkey paws, you know, like, and we're gonna make the greatest Mario Party game ever on the Switch, it'll be wonderful. And the monkey paw's like, yes, and his little finger curls up, but there'll be no online play. Like,
yeah, they've got a lot of monkey paws then. That just makes me think of that Simpsons episode. You can have this doll, yay! But that's good, but it's cursed. Oh, that's bad. But it comes with a free frozen yogurt. Oh, that's good. But it is also cursed. Oh, that's bad. But it comes with free toppings. That's good. But it contains potassium benzoate. that's bad. Oh, that's bad. And whatnot. That's a good. All right, but that's it. A little bit more Mario as we close up the news bits for today. There's not a lot of news this week because, I guess Dr. Mario World was announced, but that's kind of related to my video, so we'll talk about that in a minute in that context. But E3 was last week, so it makes sense. There's not a lot of news. If anything comes out on Friday, by the way, too, we're recording on Thursday, so we're not going to talk about Friday stuff because we don't know the future.
Except for we are going to talk about Friday stuff right now.
Friday.
It's amazing that they announced Pokemon
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I love Pokemon Scooby-Doo.
Unexpected crossover.
Yep.
That amiibo looks great.
Yep, it sure does. It's almost as good as the fact that it's going to be on Xbox only.
Yep.
Original Xbox from back in 2001 or whenever it was. I don't know. So Pokemon Scooby-Doo. No, just kidding. So the last news bit, it's not even particularly newsy, but earlier this week, somebody released, the website is infernoplus.com, and it's a Mario Battle Royale.
Whoa.
So it's like completely not affiliated with Nintendo in the legal sense, and he's like, it's probably going to get taken down, but it took me like 3 weeks to make it, so I just did it.
I admire that.
Yeah, 100%. So you go to the website, and it's Mario 1, and you and 75 other players are just racing to the end of one full world. So not the whole game, but it's like class SMB1, I guess. So like original Mario.
Can you see the other players?
You can see the other players. They're just like kind of invisible to you. They can both interact with the world, but not with each other. So
if I jump on a platform on one of those ropes that starts to sink, then their platform will also begin to sink.
That's a good. I think they disabled the rope platform, so those are gone. But like enemies, for example, so like Koopas, you can like jump on a Koopa, hit the shell back, and like and take out some people.
Okay.
So you play through. I've only seen worlds 1, 2, 3, 5, and bonus world, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's hard. I've only seen those even be in there, and world 5 is like pretty hard just by itself, to where I was watching some people playing it, and just by the end of the first level of World 5, it went from 75 players to like 9. Like, whoa. Everybody just died. So just making it to the end of that one. But so the first 3 players get like first, second, and third place, and then anybody else just walks into a lava pit at the end and they lose. And then some other things about it that are fun. So like if you get a star, then you're suddenly in everybody's game. And if you just walk into somebody else, so some people will like get a star, go to the top of like, you can climb up a vine to go onto some cloud platforms, and they'll just stand right there where everybody spawns if they go up the
gosh, that's so bad.
It's great. And I enjoy it a lot. But yeah, if you want to see any of that, I mean, you can just go play it. It's unless it got taken down already, it's just up there. But otherwise, Grand Pooh Bear, who's a Mario Maker streamer, and Ryu Carr, who's also a Mario Maker streamer, who I follow both of them. They both put up some videos of them playing it, and it's just funny.
That sounds really great. Yeah. If you all also want to play something similar that might not get shut down spontaneously, Chicken Run is a game that I enjoy. And
Ultimate Chicken Horse?
Oh, when I say Chicken Run,
Run's the movie, you silly.
I love that game. And you know what it is?
There was probably a game of Chicken Run, not going to lie.
It probably
most movies had games, right?
Yeah.
Not most movies,
yeah,
but
Ultimate Chicken Horse is what I meant. And it's so accessible. Even if you do bad, you're still having a great time.
Yep.
So it sounds just very similar. It kind of scratches the same itch of what you're talking about.
I think so.
But I digress. That Mario thing sounds pretty cool and just like nonsense fun.
Absolutely. Out of curiosity, what would be... So AJ and Logan talked about this a while ago before I even did anything with the podcast. I just hung out and listened to it and just was like, wow, what a bunch of cool humans that... Whatever. So they talked about like what games could be battle royales. I was curious, are there any games or franchises that you think would be fun as a battle royale that, isn't?
I wish you should have posed this question earlier.
I should have, but now you're on the spot. Here, I'll talk about mine.
Yeah,
okay. I can't even remember. I think I at least commented this on the video when they talked about it back in the day. And I don't remember if one of them had said something about it, but Breath of the Wild or something akin to that.
Yeah.
Would be like, because there's not a lot of melee battle royale type games.
Yeah.
And that would just be like just really fun, where I don't care about shooting, and most of them are shooting. There's one, maybe it's Realm Royale, I don't know, that has more like magic powers and stuff. And so I would just like one in like a fantasy setting where there's like swords and, you know, Skyrim-y or Witchery or Zelda or whatever, but like swords, bow and arrow, and like maybe some magic stuff thrown in there. Yeah. Would be lots of fun.
So for context for listeners, I have not played any Battle Royale. I think I've tried some, but it was very bad.
I think I tried Fortnite like 3 times in a row and was like, yep, don't care.
I tried, I can only think of Anthem, which is not...
Apex Legends.
Apex Legends, yes. I tried that one and was definitely drawn in by it, but could not dedicate the time to like enjoy myself. So my answer is coming from someone like that. Before I even get to mine, I just want to revisit the Breath of the Wild one. I think that lends itself very well. You could do invincibility frames on your dodge jumps. The durability on weapons I think would be great, because you can like find some really strong stuff, but you can't kill everybody with it. And with the exploratory, you know, like climb anything, glide places, all that just lends itself well to like an open Battle Royale. So I can't stop thinking about that. But you asked me the question, so let me think of something. Overcooked Battle Royale.
Oh, man alive. Yep. We cooked so many things too much.
Yep, that's right.
How would you win or lose in Overcooked?
An Overcooked Battle Royale?
Yeah. Like are you like actually hitting each other, or is it like doing some game mechanics wrong, you lose, or something like that? I don't know. Curious.
Could be a lot of different things. Maybe it's the first person to build something really complicated, like a wedding cake, to like exacting specifications, but maybe you're also doing that in an active volcano or something. So there will be casualties.
There will be casualties.
And, you know, if a cleaver finds its way into somebody's something, then who am I to say that that's...
So true.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, any manner of things. Yeah. Overcooked Battle Royale. Check for it. Friday. Coming soon.
Oh, wow. What a sneaky word that sometimes means in 3 years. I love the games that like were announced for Switch before the Switch came out, and they're like, they'll be coming soon, and then just absolutely never showed up. Like Steep was one for a long time. It was like, that's going to come out. Yeah, that never happened.
That is the... It's like me with some evening plans after work. Like, I'll be coming soon. 3 hours later, I'm on the way.
Yeah, there you go. That's I'm gonna stop that there. Stop that train of thought. The other thing that I was thinking about with that, like, Hunger Games is like the classic. Just, you know, fictional battle royale type thing, and we don't really have any games that are like that. Really, like they're all kind of...
I like that. That's more survival oriented. Like that would take place, I mean, not in game days, but and almost environmental kind of
like,
set
exactly, like environmental things, like more setting traps kinds of things. Because like I feel like when somebody described PUBG to me, I think they said it's like Hunger Games, but like with guns and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, shut up about the guns. Just like it's just like Hunger Games. Yeah, like I think I watched the first 2 movies maybe, and it was cool and fun and all that stuff. But just the being able to like poison people or like, set traps or like having special skills like camouflage or blah, blah. I don't know. Any of those kinds of things where there's like more extra abilities or something would just be really fun, where it's more diverse.
I agree. That sounds very cool. Yep. I think one just kind of came to mind is like playing the opposite side of that. One popular thing about battle royales, I think, is that they can be played relatively quickly, like round by round by round, whereas a survival thing, I think, lends itself more to the long game, because you're like gathering resources, trying to wait stuff out. So those games might take longer than people might think you could keep attention or something.
That's a good point.
Just not to shoot it down, because I think it sounds cool.
Yeah.
But sometimes what we think sounds cool isn't actually cool, like being able to design a Mario level using Joy-Cons.
True.
Yeah,
it's dumb and lame.
It's good for us to not get that.
Yeah, unless it's on the TV, in which case that's exactly what we need.
Of course.
But if we have it in our hand and there's the Joy-Cons and the screen just so close to each other, when they're too close to each other, you can't mix those.
It's probably a safety hazard.
It really is. Yeah. It's people have died.
I sprained my wrist. Oh, died. Wow.
Not doing that. Just people have died.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't argue with that.
Just saying. People also did not die watching the videos this week. I don't know. What a thing. That was all the news. Great old times. And then, this is the part of the show where when you watch mine or AJ's videos and you leave some comments, we like to talk about some of those comments because it's a community-driven show and all that stuff. And so it's just fun to kind of go on about what y'all said and yins and stuff. So AJ's not here, so we're not going to do the ones from his because we just don't typically do that. But you guys left some cool comments on my video, which if you left some after like 6 p.m. Central Time on the day that it came out, then they didn't exist yet. So by the time we started doing this, so we've got the ones from before that, or a couple of them. All right, so first one that we're going to read from Benjamin Aquino. Left some cool stuff. Let's read this here. So he said, I absolutely love this video and agree 100%. Wow, great comment. Let's digest that for a minute. I'm just kidding. So, the topic of the video, I guess, to talk about it too, it was Nintendo mobile games.
Yep.
And how, I don't know. Well, Mitch, first questions, not to just be like, what do you think? Do you agree? But like, just in general, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the topic, aside from video aside?
On Nintendo mobile games?
Yeah, I don't know. Just whatever. Like, the premise was that they're not made specifically for Nintendo fans.
I know the premise. I watched the video.
I know you know.
Okay. So when I hear mobile games, there's a stigma on that for me personally, for multiple reasons. A lot of the cool ones I got into had like an energy kind of thing where I was throttled on how much I could play, which I am usually a power gamer. I have most of the consoles and stuff. I don't have a PC that's gaming worthy, but I went to that phone game and really tried to. I was just frustrated because I was getting throttled. So I know that's not what Nintendo has on their Dr. Mario planned, right?
It actually is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I clearly didn't pay close enough attention when I was watching the video.
I might not have talked about that in terms of the mechanics, but it's got same kind of like, honestly, when there'll be a comment talking about this, but like mechanics wise, not gameplay mechanics wise, but like meta kind of wise, it pretty much, if you played Candy Crush at all, it's like similar kind of setup as far as like monetization and all that kind of stuff.
It's freemium.
It is freemium, yeah.
Okay, heard you say that.
You run out, like if you lose enough levels, you'll run out of stamina or whatever and have to start again. So here, we'll read Benjamin's comment and get into that. So he says, I just had a debate on Twitter in regards to this very thing and thought it was silly that people are so shocked that Nintendo is yet again doing a free-to-play game with microtransactions. Just as you mentioned, Nintendo did try to give us a game at flat cost, and they did not profit well from that. If people who own the Nintendo Switch just took a step back and understood that these mobile games are not aimed at them, I don't think there would be as many people upset. On a side note, how dare you not include Miitomo as their first game? LOL. I can understand why, however, I personally loved it. Used it every day to send my boyfriend cute messages and me photos. I actually still have the icon on my phone that I won't delete. I wish Nintendo would at least give us a me photo app. And then a prayer hands emoji. Good stuff. Honestly, I didn't know totally what Miitomo was. I could have done extra research, but I was like, I don't know enough about it to talk about it well, so.
Sure. I've personally never heard of it, but if you enjoyed it, then I'm glad it was made, Benjamin. That sounds excellent.
100%.
Yep. And I totally understand where you're coming from on that. I earlier, just moments ago, mentioned that I was frustrated with the energy mechanic, and I think, like the video said, it was just not really made for me, but it's I'm glad they exist. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think so. Again, kind of premise of the video, if you watch the video, kind of my thoughts on it, but like, I think the thing is, we talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago with Mario Kart Tour as well. Yeah, Nintendo's just trying to invite new people in instead of getting the ones that already care, which on one hand, you sort of feel like, oh, that sucks because that's, annoying because like I am their fan, so why aren't they making more stuff for me? But it's like, no, they're making a lot of stuff for you and it's specifically for you, and that's the point. And it's not also taking away any resources. I saw that comment somewhere before making the video that like, why are they doing this stupid stuff with Dr. Mario World? It's like taking money away from, being able to make other games or time away from that. But which is not the case because they're partnering with DNA and Cyber Games, SciTech, whatever. Some like specifically mobile game developers, they're outsourcing it to them and then working with them like closely as overseeing it, but not actually doing, actual stuff with it. So yeah. But great comment, Benjamin. And then this next one, just kind of piggybacking off of that. And talking about Candy Crush earlier, this is why I didn't say much about it just yet. Juan Rodriguez says, why does everyone compare the Dr. Mario mobile game to Candy Crush? They're nothing alike. It plays seemingly like Dr. Mario, but from the bottom up. More of a Puyo Tetris vibe. So, Mitch, I guess no specific thoughts on this, maybe? Curious before I go into saying a bunch of things.
Well, it sounds like people are comparing it to Candy Crush.
Yeah. Just saying the opposite way.
Yeah, other than the energy mechanic, I understand where Juan is coming from. Yeah. It doesn't really seem similar to Candy Crush, other than, you're looking at a board, I guess. I hope you don't confuse pills with candy. Those are not the same people.
There was a lady that was like our grandma away from home when I was growing up, and she had a jar with cough drops in it, and I was always like looked at it longingly like, man, I want that candy, but I couldn't, and it was cough drops anyway. So why would you have just a giant jar of cough drops? I don't know.
You'll understand when you're old.
I already do. But Juan, great question. I think it has, in my opinion, it has less to do with the specific mechanics of the game, like the gameplay stuff, because you're right. It's a lot more, I wouldn't even necessarily say of a Tetris thing as much as like pretty close to Puyo Puyo in a lot of ways. But it's a match 3, so in that sense, it is kind of like Candy Crush. But at least how I think of it is, of Nintendo's games, on a pacing level, it's by far the closest to Candy Crush, where like you can play one level at a time, or like hop in for, just try the same level over and over again, pass that one, get to the next level, like that same kind of thing. Whereas, and it's also a puzzle game. Like, of Mario's pre-existing franchises, it's the one that's like, it's pretty much Candy Crush outside of it just being a different game, in the same way that you'd probably compare playing Tetris and playing Candy Crush to each other. I don't know, or something like, or even like Candy Crush and like Angry Birds. Like, you could compare them to each other as being similar in a different way than they are from like Clash of Clans, which is just completely different as far as gameplay goes, but they feel like the same kind of void of like sort of puzzly kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then it's, just similarly the mechanics of the metagame where like you've got life and you have to buy power-ups and blah, blah, blah. Like that kind of stuff is pretty much looks identical to Candy Crush. And like if you use fewer resources, you'll fill up 3, you get 3 stars instead of 1 star, 2 stars, or something along those lines. Those are my thoughts. So
that makes sense.
Great point, Juan. I think some people might be talking about it in a different way than I am, but at least when I compare the two, it's more on that front instead. So, good point. All right, and then last but not least, we got 7 with a very, very long comment. He actually left 3 comments, and I'm just reading one of them. But here we go. So to actually answer the question, though, here's an anecdote. My dad used to be a PC gamer, but when he got sick, he didn't have the strength to sit at his desk anymore. Eventually, he became paralyzed and bedridden, so the only real form of entertainment he had was mobile games like Cut the Rope and Angry Birds. I had an Xbox 360, but his arms would get tired from holding the controller, and he'd drop it easily. We also couldn't afford to get him a modified setup since his medical expenses, my studies, and just everyday survival came first. Besides that, the last months of his life never left the hospital, so he wouldn't have been able to use it anyway. So he used to rest his tablet on his knees and spend hours on the little time management and strategy games that reminded him of the RTSs he used to love on PC. Had he lived to see it, I'm sure he would have loved the Switch, though. He could have played in tabletop mode with detached Joy-Cons and the straps so that they wouldn't break when he lost his grip. Having grown up in a gaming household, my dad, 2 older brothers, and me, experiencing games on all sorts of devices, each with their own pros and cons, I don't have much of a problem with mobile games as most people do. Although I find myself playing games on phone less and less now that I have a Switch and can therefore always take my console quality games with me. And before that, I preferred my 3DS since that went everywhere with me too. But before that, in the 18 months after my dad passed, my GBA was busted and I had sold my DS to help my mom pay off debts as we were battling with the state to release his pension. Having a beat up yet internet capable phone, which I needed for research since I was still in undergrad, helped kept me sane during breaks in late night study sessions and gave me another small connection to the man whom I owe much of what makes me not only the gamer, but the person I am today. Goodness, that's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Heart-wrenching? Just beautiful?
Yeah, I don't
all the above.
Have much to add to that, Seven. I hope things are going better for you now, and I'm really happy to hear that gaming was a good way for you and your dad to bond and for your dad to get to enjoy some time. That's great.
Yeah. No, I'll say as just an aside too, nothing makes me, I've still got both my parents and I'm incredibly thankful for that, but nothing like in movies or TV or songs or whatever, like nothing makes me cry faster than stuff with parents, and like having parents that you have a good relationship with is just not always the case and is just really cherished. So that's really great to hear. But incredibly sorry for your loss, but obviously mobile games on a slightly lighter net, that's great that was able to keep you guys having that kind of relationship and that he was able to play those kinds of games. That's really, really cool. And I think that's something too that like just even Nintendo with this whole thing, making games for anybody that couldn't play console games but do love Nintendo franchises, even if they're not the same, like that's really cool that, to be able to do something that would kind of expand past just what, not everybody even has the money to buy a Switch or anything like that. So just doing stuff like that is really neat. So Seven, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it a lot. And with that, I think we're going to move away from that video and get into the last bit of the segment. By the way, probably this week's going to be a little bit shorter. Mitch, normally AJ and I talk for like 2 hours, which is a very long time. But we also get on lots of tangents because, that's just how things go. But we're not going to probably go quite that long today. But we do have a backlog of a lot of questions and stuff like that because last week we didn't get to the questions. I don't remember what I had going on, but I had something happening to where I had to leave. So whatever that's all about. Oh, yeah. You were coming over last week.
Sorry to ruin it.
No, it's fine. So, yeah, Mitch came over to help me move stuff so that we could get our floors put back together, which it all is now, and is fan-friggin-tastic. So, here's some questions from Discord. If you want to ask us some questions, not that you have to, just because it's a fun old time. It's usually the same, probably like 10 or so people that ask us questions, and it's not because they're like, I want to hear my name read so much. It's just, it's just fun. I think, at least. I don't know. But, but if you want to ask some questions, we'll just have a good old time with it. So these are from Discord. A couple of these are from last week, and then we'll get to some from this week. So these first couple are from last week. Striker XL. What's up, Striker? All of the Nintendo... Okay, well, AJ had also asked, what were your favorite announcements from E3? Because it was around E3 time. What were your favorite announcements from E3, Mitch?
Man, we watched some E3 stuff together, specifically Nintendo, which was very cool. And even moments after it, I think you asked me, and I couldn't tell you. This felt like, you guys have probably heard this, like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. Like there's just so much stuff that you miss. I don't know if I could really say. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of an all-console gamer, so... Halo, I'm super excited for the next installment of Halo. I am very excited for Elden Ring from Software's new thing. And on the Nintendo side of things, I'm probably going to get like 2 of those voucher passes.
Yeah,
because we've got Fire Emblem coming up, Demon Ex Machina I'm interested in, Astral Chain, Pokemon. So any of those.
Too bad this year sucks for games and there's nothing good coming out.
Is that what people are saying?
No.
They should.
So, I did hear some. I mean, it's been paced weird where like, on the Switch at least, there wasn't much first-party stuff came out the first half of the year, but then this second half of the year just... drowning in it. It's crazy.
That makes it. Also, I feel like
I have one more I just thought of.
Yeah.
Iceborne for Monster Hunter.
Oh, yes.
I so wish that could be on Switch for everyone.
Yep.
Generations XX is on Switch, which if that's your only Monster Hunter outlet, go check that out. But that is one of my most beloved franchises. So much time into that.
Yep. You've accidentally already answered two of the questions.
Oh,
not in a bad way. No, not in a bad way. It's just funny because you've already talked about them. Well, I mean, we'll talk about them more in detail when it comes to it. But I was just like,
Great.
It was the ones that earlier I was saying to you, like, there's some questions I think that are like
cool.
good.
Well, then I'll stop.
No,
we can get to them later.
It's just funny. But yeah, so Striker, back to your comment. Sorry about that. Sorry I had to talk to stupid old Mitch over here. Striker says, all of the Nintendo announcements were my favorite. Non-Nintendo, I would say the reveal announcement of Keanu Reeves.
Yes! Oh my gosh.
It was just a good old time. What a great...
So good.
Just what a sweet little person.
Just a quality human.
Yep. And then also said Cyberpunk 2077 is a system seller, and I would even consider buying an Xbox One X for this or wait for the next gen to come out. Curious, Striker, if you have an Xbox One already and you'd be upgrading to an X, or if you'd be getting it for the first time completely, because I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
That is all.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, are you interested in Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, yeah. I mean, same people who made The Witcher.
Yeah,
so I'm interested in playing it and not finishing it, just like The Witcher.
And you like futuristic-y sci-fi type stuff, right? So.
Oh, yeah. That's right in my alley.
Yep.
I'm very
I hate
excited.
the future. I wish we could just stop right now.
Yep.
I don't know what that beep noise was, but whatever. Yes, that game looks really cool. I will not have a thing to play it on, so it's not going to happen, but nevertheless, it looks cool. Justin says, Final Fantasy... Hey, he does. Cool. Final Fantasy VIII Remaster was my favorite... Wait, no. Yeah, remaster. Was my favorite announcement of the conference. So Justin does like Final Fantasy VIII.
So good.
Just like you do.
Yep.
One, because Final Fantasy VIII was the game that made me care about video games. Wow, what a turnaround. Two, because I heard so many rumors that the reason why we had already remastered almost every other Final Fantasy game but 8 was because 8's source code was lost and the idea of remastering it was completely gone. I really like most of Square's show, but honestly, it's still weird for me to have so many Western IPs because of the Crystal Dynamics EDOS editions. True. Just odd for a company that seemed so historically niche, whatever, Japanese to all of a sudden start peddling Tomb Raiders and Avengers. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Because when did Tomb Raider stuff stop being, I don't really know, I guess when it first came back because there was the trilogy, I guess, that came out more recently over the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or so. And I guess the first one of those was when Square Enix started owning it. Is that right? Do you happen to know?
I do not know.
Cool. I don't know either.
Do not know.
But I guess that's probably about the case, is just like the new series of it or whatever. And then I imagine that's also when they got probably with those studios was when Just Cause started happening, and that's also Western. Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean, Justin. It's odd that Square's doing that, but it's also weird. I feel like even in their JRPGs, they're starting to lean kind of more Western with Final Fantasy 15 and that kind of stuff being more action-based than turn-based and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's all I know about that.
Got you. I got to say this, Justin. Parker and I were talking about this before we started recording, I think, during mic check or something. Final Fantasy VIII is also my favorite Final Fantasy.
I think we might have even said it on the podcast, so you should say it even more time.
I'm going to, okay. Well,
do it, yes.
Either way, I mean, 7 is a lot of people's favorite, which is fine, but I want you to know that there are other people out there who also love 8 as much as you. Yeah. How much do I have? 1 minute to say? Okay.
As much time as you want. I don't care.
Great. So I played through it 2 or 3 times. The very first time was I was pretty young, playing it on the PlayStation 1, so around the time it first came out. And I made it to the 3rd disc. There were 4 discs in this game. And I really identified with Squall, the main character of the game, because I was a pretty shy kid, and Squall is relatively reserved. And, he's surrounded by people who care about him very much, but he was not very outgoing. And there's a point of the game where he kind of decides to, he gets resolved and he becomes outgoing and decides to risk things for his friends. And one person,
perhaps for biscuits as well.
He risks it for the biscuit.
Man, what a lovely person. In the UK, that's a cookie, and in here, in the U.S., it's something different.
Yep. Well, there was a biscuit that he especially liked and that liked him.
I believe it.
Yes. Her name was Rinoa.
What a biscuit.
Yep. And I was at the point in the game where she had kind of gotten like kidnapped, and I was at that boss battle where you're trying to rescue her. Mm-hmm. And I think I was playing during a storm, and my power went out, and my memory card got corrupted, and I just could not bring myself to get back to that point of the game. So forever, for years after that point, I was stuck in that moment where like Squall was trying to rescue Rinoa, but never did
in the game you were stuck, or also like just mentally stuck. You were just like caught up in that moment.
I had for years unresolved thing. Like I didn't save Rinoa, and so when I went back and played it on my PlayStation 2, I saved her. And anyway, it just felt really good. Yeah. So in addition to that being one of my first RPGs, that moment kind of solidifies it as one of my favorites and like definitely stand out.
Now that you've saved Rinoa, you are a real hero.
Yep.
Plus Ultra.
Plus Ultra. I love All Might.
Who's your favorite character, by the way?
In My Hero Academia?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe All Might. I know. I feel bad picking one who's that, like, not niche. I feel like it's lame to pick one of the main characters, but I admire All Might for being able to, like, smile in adversity when he knows that, like, things are not going super well or he doesn't feel like it, you know? I think that's something that we could apply to ourselves at times.
That's a very true thing. Yeah.
So I admire that about All Might.
Ashley's favorite is Todoroki, and I feel like he's I don't even know what example of a... He's like the almost side character that he's not a side character, but he's, the not Deku that is most people's favorite. So I also really like Todoroki, but I'm like, no, he's not my favorite. Just because
it's Ashley's favorite.
Yeah, same reason that like if she's getting like today we went through Culver's and she got an AJ, get ready for this. She got an Oreo and raspberry.
That's gross.
Raspberry. No. Mitch! No! Mitch doesn't like any food, though, so it's in his...
photosynthesize.
Yeah, he does. He only eats chicken, that's all. I mean, or plain foods. Literally plain foods, but nevertheless.
He's not being mean. He's just right.
So, but we got Oreo, and she got an Oreo and raspberry shake, or mix or whatever, and I was like, that's what I was going to get, too. So I got an Oreo and raspberry with chocolate base instead of vanilla, because I was like, I just don't want to get the same thing for some weird reason. Like I just prefer not to get the same thing as somebody else around me. So for similar reasons, I think Todoroki, aside from anybody else, maybe would be my favorite, but instead, maybe Tokiyama. You
have to remind me which one that is.
He's I also could be getting his name a little bit wrong, but he's the bird guy with the darkness.
Oh, cool! Yeah, the shadow dude.
Tokiyama? Yeah, I think that's it.
You could say almost anything. I love the show, but I don't know all their names.
I try to, especially because you don't really, like, you mostly watch it and, like, sometimes you and I talk about it, but, like, Ashley and I talk about it, like, we'll watch it a bunch and talk about it more. So, like, at this point, I can name probably half of the main, like, Class 1A ish. But, yeah, there's still a lot that, like, I don't know what the animal dude's name is, or the sugar guy, whatever. If you don't watch My Hero, this is like the weirdest conversation, but I don't know, whatever. We're at this point of the podcast now where that's a thing. So yeah, Justin, going back to that comment, I also agree. I'm curious about how if they found the source file, like I hope stories about this come out, if they found the source file, or if they literally like somehow remade it, somehow, like something I wonder too, people download ROMs of other games, so it seems to me like theoretically could they have, I don't know anything about game development obviously, but is it possible that they ripped their own ROM somehow from the game and remastered based off of that, like took the models from it and then
interesting. I don't know either.
Just a thought, but yeah, or they just made it from scratch and made it look just didn't work as hard on it as they did 7. I don't know.
I will say, not to disparage it at all,
yeah,
but after seeing the Final Fantasy VII footage, when I heard it was going to be remastered, I watched the trailer and I was like, man,
I can't wait to see the graphics when they remaster it.
Yep.
But I think that was it. And then someone pointed out to me, man, you really got to go back and look at the PlayStation. And
that's the thing, is there's so many of these games that AJ actually mentioned this in his video on Tuesday, because he did one on Banjo 3E and how they should make that and various things. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But he talked about making the game essentially making the game like how we remember Banjo-Kazooie to be, but not how it actually was. And I think the same goes for just a lot of other things. Like if you go back to Super Mario 64, you'll be like, oh wow, this is actually not quite as crisp as I remembered it to be, or that kind of stuff. Or I'll see, I don't know, even like Crash Bandicoot, or a lot of these kind of, especially platformers, I think is a big thing where I'll play like a newer Crash Bandicoot, or I'll just the remake, and then I remember going back to seeing a model of a Crash Bandicoot game that wasn't the original 3 and was like an in-between one in early 2000s or something, and I was like, wow, that model's really bad, but it was technically it was way better than the original one, kind of, but the original one was just so bad that you could sort of impose stuff onto it. But it's also because in my mind, I'm still used to what we actually have now, which is that's just the way it was. But if you go back and look at it, no, it was pretty bad.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Interesting things. Next comment. Crunch Topher says, anything you were surprised to be excited by? I assume at E3.
Yeah. So for me, Astral Chain was up there. When I saw the first footage for it, I really didn't quite understand what was going on. And I do like JRPGs, but sometimes I can't really get into the plot. It just seems a little maybe generic or nonsensical occasionally to me, personally.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyway, but what I saw at E3, when I saw gameplay and stuff, I am very excited for that now. Yeah, that was, I think, same for that one. Less, I was kind of I don't know about it. And then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know. But I think the one that I was most surprised by was actually Luigi's Mansion 3. People were really excited about that when it got announced last year in September. And I was like, cool, I'm very happy for other people that got announced, but didn't particularly care one way or another. But the more I saw about it, especially through the gameplay and things, I was like, oh, I want to play this game. Me, Parker, the one and only me. Yeah, I'll agree. I hear you on that one. Yeah. Luigi's a good one.
Yeah. I feel like there was something else, too, that I was kind of surprised by.
I will say, while you're thinking about that, the opposite effect, I think, to a degree, for the Fire Emblem game.
Oh.
I think it wasn't quite exactly what I was imagining, specifically with the battling portion of it. I don't know what I was imagining, but... Yeah,
I'd be interested.
I'm a bit daunted just because there's a lot that you can do.
Right.
Maybe I was hoping for a more casual turn-based type thing. I've been playing some Wargroove, and that's been good. It's been a while since I played it, but that's been a great game.
Yep.
I think when I get in the right mood, I'll be more prepared for Fire Emblem. And like I said earlier, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
But...
especially because you watch the Treehouse stuff on it, right? With no, because I'm with you there. There's a lot of I've never played a Fire Emblem game myself. This is going to be my first one, and I think this is the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I'll do some research anyway because I'm sure I'll be talking about this game when it's closer to coming out. But I'm pretty sure this is the first one where there's been an overworld, as it were, essentially, and where you can do all this stuff through the school and all that stuff. So I do wonder how exactly the story progressed. I think through some cutscenes and that kind of stuff, but I could be wrong. I've not seen all that much gameplay of older ones, but all the stuff that you can do in there does seem very daunting. Yeah, where it's you can, training all the people, and what game does it remind me of? I don't know, something.
Reminded me a little bit of XCOM. I don't know if that's had a chance to come to Nintendo. I don't think it has. But you have a hub world where you can train soldiers. You can even name the soldiers after people you know, which I have done to increase my attachment to them.
Have you named any of them, Parker?
I have.
Did they die?
And you have not died. No.
Yeah.
Our friend Rob died. A horrible death, and I feel very bad about it, Rob. So XCOM is like Fire Emblem in that there's a difficulty where if one of your characters die, then there's no bringing that character back, which is difficult. I enjoy that portion because it makes your actions feel like they have some weight to them. Of course, you can mitigate this by save scumming. You save before every turn, and then if someone dies, just reload the save.
Yeah, right.
But I do enjoy games like that. And with the Fire Emblem having so much to do, I'm also the kind of gamer where I like to min-max if I can and kind of go hard. So, but if there's something to do, I will probably do it. And if there's something to explore, I will probably explore it. So if there's too much to do, gaming can feel like a chore and not a relaxing thing.
I feel exactly what you're talking about. Maybe Xenoblade is a little bit what I'm thinking of. I don't know. There's some other game where exactly what you said, where it's like there's so many things to do, and I just feel like overwhelmed by all these like options and stuff that I don't have to do, but like I feel like I'm supposed to at the same time.
Right.
Because like at this point, there's so many games coming out that I don't have really time for games that are like that require to be my only game for a while.
Yes.
Like when Breath of the Wild came out, 100%. That was the only game I had on Switch at all for a long time, so that was fine. But then at this point, it's just harder to do that. Which the next question actually is, 2DS asks, Fire Emblem, hype or no, in your opinions? Yeah. That's what we're already talking about. Look at that. But yeah, so I mean, I think my general consensus for it is I'm excited about it. I'm just choosing to not be worried about all these things. I'm going to get it anyway, and then we'll find out. Maybe I just don't know how necessary all this stuff is going to be. That's going to be so daunting or time consuming or whatever.
Right. That game is coming out like 2 or 3 days before my airplane trip, so it might be a great time for it.
That's a good point.
It all depends on how much time I have available, because I would love to sink the time into it, but it's just like you said.
Yeah.
Do you have the time?
Yeah. Does the gameplay of the battling part of it seem like what you thought it was, pretty much?
I think so. It's hard to tell until you get in there. I guess so. I think. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like similar to Wargroove, just tactics RPG kind of thing. Oh, I remember a little bit. Maybe not. I tried to play Disgaea 5 because there was a demo for it back in the day when that first came out, and that was one that felt like every minute. Like, I think you were supposed to just have already played to some degree Disgaea 1, 2, 3, and 4 to where it just was like, all right, we're going to get you back into the mechanics, but here's a catch up for everybody. And so it was like, here's this thing, and that thing, and that thing, that thing, and that thing, and that thing. And it was just like so much stuff that like all these mechanics that I just felt lost really fast and had all these characters. And I was like, I don't know what to do with any of you, who to put where, what's going on. So yeah, that was a thing. And the UI wasn't great either, to where it was like, I just want to save. Let me save. Like, and I didn't know how to do that, or I don't know if it was saving, but it was something along those lines where I was like, gosh.
Compare that to Xenoblade 2's 14-hour tutorial.
Honestly, even that like 50 hours. The last tutorial I get literally the 50-hour mark. Goodness. But at least that one felt like paced better, where it was like, okay, yeah, you've got the hang of this. Here's a bunch more stuff where like you're like, oh, still more things. But I enjoyed Xenoblade. That's a story for another day, but I liked it. Blah,
but yes, blah. Fire Emblem, I am conflicted and hyped.
Good one. Grimhane, what's up, Grimhane? Asks, now that AJ the nerd-ish hater is gone, call him out. No, seriously, there's a lot, like anytime Diablo comes out or whatever, AJ's like, that's some nerd stuff. And which, I mean, all of this is nerd stuff, but it's like, anything more like fantasy based or whatever is like not really his dig for the most part, besides like Zelda and just a couple of other one-off ones. Which is very fine, because that's stuff that I typically happen to enjoy. So now that AJ the nerd-ish hater is gone, Monster Hunter specifically made for Switch speculation? Maybe in 2020? Question mark?
Specifically for Switch, so like no other consoles. Try might have been only on the Wii. I don't remember.
Monster Hunter 4, for example, that was just on the. I think there were a lot that are specifically.
Well, 4U was on the 3DS, I think.
So I think a lot of them, in my understanding, from pretty outsider perspective, there's been a bunch of them that were just made for Nintendo consoles. So it could very well happen. And one of my thoughts, and I'll let you kind of jump off of this, is that the Switch definitely just hardware-wise is quite different from the Xbox and PS4, to where like there's a bunch of porting companies that said we could port Monster Hunter World over to the Switch, but again, it would be like pared down or whatever to where maybe Capcom's just like we're not going to bother with that. But it would make more sense for them to make one that was specifically for just the Switch, and then they do either more DLC for Monster Hunter World or make a Monster Hunter World 2 that's kind of using the same engine. I don't know, something like that.
Sure. For
the other consoles. So then they're still separate or something like that. Those would be my thoughts in any case. And if they did that, I'm curious from you as a Monster Hunter fan. We have a story about how Monster Hunter 4.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Was that really Monster Hunter 4?
That was Monster Hunter 4, yeah.
Man.
Well, I'll tell that in a second. But as a Monster Hunter fan, what things you would want if we saw... I personally think 2020 seems like a really reasonable year for Monster Hunter Switch game. Like, they've had a bunch of time at this point. Monster Hunter Generations was a pretty easy port, all things considered, as far as like, you know, they didn't really... It was already in Japan. They just had to bring it over here and translate and stuff, which they already had the translation, whatever. So yeah, what would you think they should or shouldn't kind of collate to make the perfect Monster Hunter experience on Switch, for example?
Okay, so not even debating whether we would get one, but if we did, what would... Yeah. As long as it's on the Switch, let's use some motion controls. I think that would be really cool to be able to, you know, undock your cons and put up, you know, do a movement for shield, do a movement for slashing, like just, you know, you can start combos various ways. So different directions to start different combos. I know some people would not be a fan of that. Don't make it a mandatory feature. Just something fun. So that would be a good one. Maybe have some kind of like hub area where if you're in proximity to someone and you have your Wi-Fi turned on, you can just like boom, see other players without having to manually sync up.
Is that... I know, so AJ tried to play Monster Hunter World with Logan at some point and had a lot of trouble just connecting together the first little while. Is that something that you feel like Monster Hunter World did worse than other games, or just worse than it could do, or something like that?
Here's a good question. Monster Hunter World did it worse than other Monster Hunter games. Monster Hunter World is an excellent game. I love it. But especially towards the beginning, they made partying up kind of difficult.
Gotcha.
If you're playing through the story missions, they wouldn't let another player join your mission unless you had seen the cinematic in that mission first. In order to trigger the cinematic of the mission, you have to find the monster first. So you're already 5-ish minutes in. It just breaks up the flow, and it makes partying together difficult. In the end game, it is not like that. And they may have even patched that out since the game came out. But if Logan and AJ tried to play earlier on, I definitely see where those woes are coming for. And I hope you try it again, because it's wonderful. So yeah, what other Switch features?
Or even like what mechanics as well from World would you want in? Because obviously, like World and Generations Ultimate have different things. Where like Generations Ultimate still has the like rooms mechanic. Is that something? Would you want to see that come back, or go to the World way where it's just one area? Any of that kind of stuff as well.
I think on the Switch, the room mechanic is fine. I think it can kind of suit the portable nature of the Switch. But, I mean, especially if you're going to have it docked, I really have enjoyed the one big area aspect, personally. There's been a lot of quality of life enhancements from the last one to World. A lot of little things that I won't necessarily list. But, I think that if you have a Switch and you are into Monster Hunter, definitely give Generations XX a try. I would have it if I didn't have World, and there are some things that Generations XX does better than World. They have a bigger pool of monsters to fight. In the end game of World, you kind of end up being limited. If you want to do anything meaningful, you fight like 6 or 8 of the same monster out of a pool of many more than that. You can still fight the other ones for fun. I mean, hopefully you're doing it all for fun. But if you're trying to get, that in-game loot, then you're limited. Whereas in Generations XX, you have more to work with there.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I really, if they did a Monster Hunter game, they should make it good. That's my main thing. Stop making these bad games, make good ones. Thank you, please and thank you. The story before we leave this. So I'd never played Monster Hunter before. I still have not really played Monster Hunter. Much to Mitch's woes for this reason. Although I played it at your house a little bit, so we got together and I just got to play World a little bit. But he lent me Monster Hunter 4 for the 3DS because I had a 2DS.
Yep, cartridge
with
with like 500 hours of save time on it. 500 hours
of save time. And he put it in a Ziploc bag and lent it to me, and I had it on my bedside table. And my wife one day was just, I'll say it from the other direction. I came home one day and was like, doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. I'm looking at my bedside table and I was like, hey, where's that Ziploc bag? And Ashley said, what Ziploc bag? And I said, the Ziploc bag with Mitch's game in it. And she says, I threw that away. And she had thrown it into our bedroom trash can, which then that bag went into the main trash bag, which then we were living in an apartment, went into the dumpster outside. And I was like, oh no. And so I went dumpster diving to try to find it and was not successful.
Man.
And Mitch lost 500-ish hours of Monster Hunter 4 from that.
And Park and I are still friends.
Yeah, look at that.
You can believe it.
I think my favorite ending part of the story was my birthday 2 years ago when you and some other friends came over and you got me Mario Odyssey for my birthday, and you put it in a Ziploc bag and laid it at the top of my trash can for me to find as a present. And it was there. And it was lots of fun.
Good times.
Good times.
Man.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, gosh. I had forgotten all about that. I mean, to be honest, though, I guess it does put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Like, don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like to some degree, I like having my full save file of this game or whatever, but if it's not one that I'm going to go back to, I guess it's not really a big deal at the same time, but at the same time it kind of is. So like,
sure.
There's both sides of that for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't hate you. That's the big takeaway.
Nice. Good takeaway. All right, so we're going to go through some of these other things real quick. These ones won't be as long by any stretch, but yeah, so some comments from last week's episode, because if you comment in the video, we'll pull some of those to just chat about real quick here. Last week, I'm pretty sure AJ called Fire Emblem weeb stuff. So, Broken Fiction said, in regards to Fire Emblem, is weeb bad? Not sure how the term's supposed to be applied, but hard to imagine people so heavily interested in Pokemon would consider weeb stuff a bad thing. I will come to my defense, not even AJ's necessarily, but at least mine, where I don't consider it weeb stuff, or like, at least I don't. I mean, I'm excited about it again, like we were talking about earlier, but I think AJ just, whatever. I'll let him defend himself if he wants to, but I think he just likes calling weeb stuff, even if, just why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't fully entirely know what a weeb is. I'm sure AJ was kidding. I'm sure it's mostly used just to like tease or be derogatory.
I think so.
My Monster Hunter hunting buds refer to the longsword and the dual blades as weeb weapons. I guess because they're like dodgy, and there's one attack where you like slash and then sheath your sword and then the damage is done. Like,
nice. That's
really
like, fun.
Like that. Yeah. So it makes me feel guilty about wanting to play those. Like, I feel bad about it. So I don't know, but
that's funny.
It doesn't make them not cool.
No,
I think it's cool.
Yep. I think that's just funny. For context, I guess my understanding of weeb stuff in any case is very Japan centric and heavy like anime and blah blah that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if we like Pokemon and My Hero Academia, that's. We're there already, so it's just what variety of Japanese stuff we enjoy.
It almost feels like the nerd terminology.
Yes.
Like that was derogatory at one point, and now a lot of people are nerds.
Uh-huh. I mean, AJ still calls stuff nerd stuff, but again, everything we like is nerd stuff.
Sure.
So it's just, I think, just having fun.
I don't feel bad about it.
Also, AJ calls me stupid all the time.
Well, there's that. That's different.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one's different. That one counts. Yeah, and then last week also comment from Jordan DeBest said there were a couple of games from other conferences, but I know I'm a Nintendo fan, but I really also like PlayStation. I'm definitely getting Watch Dogs, which looks dumb but fun, and Cyberpunk, which I honestly don't even know what the game is. I just want to know the hoopla. The rest, I really liked Nintendo. Breath of the Wild 2, yay. Agreed.
Also, Jordan DeBest, if you want to not know what a game is, go look at Death Stranding. I've seen every trailer.
Have you seen the gameplay of it now?
I've seen whatever E3 had to offer.
Then yeah, there you go.
I kind of get it.
A little bit.
But I don't know if anyone can fully understand what's going on there.
Who's to say?
So just go look that up, Jordan.
Yeah, I am curious. Honestly, like it looks really, the fact that we don't know what it is, I think is really neat still.
I don't know if I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
I might look up a YouTube video of someone playing through the whole game. I did that with The Last of Us. It was like a 7.5 hour video of all the cutscenes and any relevant gameplay to like kind of crop them together. And I don't regret that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Death Stranding, I could see myself watching a 30-hour video.
There you go. Probably. And then last but not least, these were some community posts. AJ asks questions sometimes on YouTube tab. And is like, yo, what's up? And so again, this was from last week. He asked what you guys are interested in from E3 or what was exciting or something along those lines. And Nathan Pratt said, Mario Maker friends play online. Yeah, that was a good... Did you hear about that, Mitch?
Nope.
Okay, so the long story short was at some point we found out that there's Mario Maker multiplayer in this one. There's co-op and versus and stuff. But for some reason, it wasn't set up to where you could do it just with your friends. It was just with random people, which is like kind of dumb.
Okay.
So,
and is it not like that anymore? Do they change that?
So there was an uproar about it, and Nintendo... Kensuke Tanabe? No. I don't remember who it was. Somebody, in any case, I apologize, I just said the wrong person probably, but somebody at E3 with Nintendo was like, hey, we're patching that. We're going to, at some point, you'll be able to play with your friends. It won't be immediately, but we'll work on it to make sure it's a thing.
That's nice. Good for them.
Good job, Nintendo, listening to people. And yeah, there was just a lot of things this E3 that made us realize, like, Nintendo's paying attention a little bit. So that's nice. F-Zero Kid, which is Falcon, what's up, said, my favorite announcement has to be No More Heroes 3. I thought with how Travis Strikes Again performed, we wouldn't be getting a third, but I'm not going to complain. Pikmin 4 is missing, which I thought was weird. I've officially been waiting on a new F-Zero game over half my life now. I have a profound sadness. Hashtag Team Parker, hashtag Team Jess, hashtag Team Waffles, hashtag F0NX. True.
Going to be 0 adult before we get another F-Zero game.
Yeah, man, I feel like it's got to happen at some point. Like,
I would love it. I mean, they might change the formula up when they bring it back out.
I hope they do, and it hopefully will be great.
I would get it.
We just want Captain Falcon. Just do stuff with him.
Yeah. He did get a buff in the last Smash patch.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Am I right? We haven't talked about Smash at all. It's not the Directly to You podcast. We're not talking about Smash. It's usually AJ, though. But yes, No More Heroes 3. I agree with the Travis Strikes Again thing. I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to happen or not. But it might have been more to just bring it back into the fray, even more than just like... It seems like if it's this far along, they must not have been going based off of how Travis Strikes Again was going to do. Because it's coming out next year, so they would have had to start development on it before Travis Strikes Again finished up. So I feel like they were planning this anyway. I don't know. Curious on that, regardless. But
yeah, I have not played the other one, so I don't have a lot to add to that. Yeah. But I thought the trailer looked cool.
It did look cool.
I'm excited that you're getting it.
Yep. I am excited as well. Pikmin 4, also missing. Rumors apparently still that Pikmin 3 maybe we'll see later this year, which... kind of random, but
it'd be fun with the Joy-Cons too. Yeah. I could see a little bit of flick action going on there.
Yep. Flicking everybody off. There you go, Team Waffles. Mark Andrews says, I love the reveal of Breath of the Wild 2. What things would you take out of the original, and what would you add to the sequel? Ooh. Good questions. Well, any thoughts, Mitch? I've got some thoughts.
Well, I don't know if I wish this. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, or maybe another monkey paw thing, where I want to not have everything break. Like, I would like to have something that's reliable. And I found myself just hoarding all the best stuff and almost never using it because I was afraid it would break. So on one hand, I wish that I could craft something, maybe using in-game materials to reinforce equipment to not break, or at least when they break, I can repair them.
Yep.
I think,
kind of like Dark Souls situation.
Yeah, sure. Maybe repairing old weapons, or maybe crafting weapons, because you could cook, you can craft food. Let me craft some equipment. Yep. Even if it's food. Let me
100%.
a cake sword if I need to.
Just a sword in the shape of a cake. Come on. Yeah. No, other way. A sword in the shape of a cake.
Sword in the shape of a cake. Wow.
Retweet if you like. Swords in the shapes of cakes. Oh, man. No, that's Arlo is a YouTuber that had a good video, or just a bunch of reviews of Breath of the Wild. It was like 7 different videos that total like 3 hours of review of Breath of the Wild. But that was one of the things he talked about, and I was like, I agreed. Like during the game, I was like, why can't we craft things? But then him talking about it made me realize it even more, that there's all this random stuff that you get kind of around the world that you can make potions out of, but nobody really uses. I didn't use potions at all. I just made food that did the potion things.
Yes, the burned turnip thing that healed all your hearts.
Right, exactly.
Yes, that was
that,
it.
or like spicy peppers or whatever. Like I didn't, or like mighty bananas and stuff like that.
Cold resistance brews or something, though, right? Or maybe an attack up.
Even
something like that.
I wouldn't use potions. I would just make food out of it because I'd have just like a ton of mighty bananas. So I just use 5 mighty bananas or whatever, and then have attack up that way.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I think the potions are like more potent, maybe like where it lasts long. I don't know, but for the most part, it was like we had all these like monster parts that you just really didn't need at all.
Let's do some Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Get some Monster Hunter about Breath of the Wild.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, so I think that kind of a thing, using those items for repairing your weapons or creating weapons or something like that would be really cool. Where I always like Golden Sun is always my go-to, where I just love having lots of different weapons where it's like, none of these, like these 3 weapons, none of them are specifically better than the other one, but they're all different in different ways, where like one of them has this extra thing, like those kinds of things where you have options. And so, I don't know, something about that's just fun, where having an just exclusively better weapon is less fun than having kind of multiple options. And I feel like with crafting, that's the way that you can kind of do that. So
yeah, I totally agree.
I definitely agree with the crafting. The other thing I think for me is the playable Zelda, which I already think that's going to happen personally, because they were talking about the fact that that this was originally DLC that they turned into a game pretty much. And they had talked about before Breath of the Wild that, they wanted to make Zelda playable, or they wanted you to be able to play as Zelda. So like, I feel like those two just go hand in hand, where it's like, all right, well, we couldn't find a time in the game to let you be able to play as Zelda, because she's not like, A, she's super powerful, B, she's not, I don't know, dead or anything like that. She wasn't dead the whole time. She was just there. I mean, obviously she wouldn't be dead, but and you're adults and all that kind of stuff. Like, it just makes sense. And then with the trailers and things, just makes sense that now you'd get to play as her.
Yep.
So
finally get to play as Zelda in a Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, which also, like, having Cadence of Hyrule come out makes sense that they would use that, because you can play as Zelda in that, and she has a bunch of powers and stuff. So, like, I don't know, maybe they're just trying to kind of ease that into our minds of, like,
I got you.
Zelda does stuff too, y'all.
It's surprising. Like, it seems like such an obvious thing to do. I think Zelda's great. I would love to play as Zelda.
Yep.
I honestly never even thought about it until someone mentioned it very recently.
Yep. There you go. So those are some things we'd like to see, Mark Andrews. What would you like to see? And then, you already said what you want to see. It's right up here. I'll keep it simple. The Divine Beast / Shrines to be replaced with much bigger, more traditional dungeons. I also hope to dive and explore underwater. Cheers. Definitely diving and exploring underwater. That was super dumb that it's like, we've got this whole world to explore and we can go up all we want, and then there's water right there, and like, I can't go more than a foot under it. Yeah. It's just silly, especially considering like you could get Zora stuff in other games and go underwater and do all that.
You got a Zora stuff in this game too, didn't you? I mean, you can get armor.
Yeah, you just swim faster, but you can't, like, it doesn't let you actually breathe underwater, which it could.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's a thing now.
I agree, though, Mark. I think that would be very cool.
Yep.
I wish we had some deeper dungeons. I mean, the shrines were cool.
I don't want them to get rid of the shrines because I just enjoy the kind of like mini puzzle sort of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely having bigger dungeons as well. Like I didn't even feel like the divine beasts were neat, but they still felt kind of compact to me.
I agree.
Part of that is just because we're so powerful as Link in this game, it's harder to make. It just makes everything a lot faster because you've got multiple solutions for stuff to where depending on how far into the game you are and stuff too, it's just a little bit easier because it's in like Majora's Mask. I remember in the ice temple or whatever, there's a spot where like, I need to be able to melt something, and there's a torch burning right up there, but I just can't climb quite high enough. And that's like a big puzzle. It's like right out of reach. If you jumped just a little bit, you could grab it and stuff. But because it's just barely out of reach, like that makes the puzzle hard because you have to figure out how to get around to it. Whereas in this, climb up there. So.
Yeah. In addition to that, like in Ocarina of Time, a lot of the dungeons would introduce new items that were critical for your progress, like Megaton Hammer and the Mirror Shield and the Hover Boots. And unless you're going to make that entirely self-contained to that dungeon and not be relevant anywhere else, it's gonna kind of hinder your ability to openly explore the world of Breath of the Wild. That was one of the charms about Breath of the Wild. Go anywhere, do anything at any time. After you get your stuff on the plateau, go do whatever you want.
Yep.
So I guess I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to. I'd want what you said. I want more.
Yep. Agreed. Last comment. Also, we are getting close to 2 hours, so look at there. What a time. Huddy Bear Inc. said, first comment. Ironically, the last one we read, so was not planned. Probably Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, and I would love to see a new one. And you know what? You're going to get to.
Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff, y'all. All right, well, that is it for this episode of Directly to You. Mitch, do you have any closing thoughts for the people?
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me to join. And you're breathtaking.
Oh, wow.
So original.
So original. I love it. I meant more closing thoughts like, like a door open gets closed.
Oh, there's a couple doors we can... around. I'm not sure what to say.
Yep. I was just setting you up for not being able to say anything at all.
It worked.
Yeah. Good old times. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Go ahead and leave some comments on this video. What question do we want to leave them with at the end? Something completely arbitrary. If you've listened this far in the podcast, you can prove it to us, the people who have microphones at the moment, by commenting the answer to this question below.
If you could present your own game at E3, what would it be?
Also, how tall are turtles? All right, that's it. See you guys later. Bye!